Okay, go ahead.
Another thing when I was a little kid we used to do, all our relatives lived there in South Dakota. And they'd all get together and they'd, with all their old cars, and we'd go different places. And we went to Yankton, South Dakota, and that's where the only radio station in the area was at Yankton. And that's where, what's his name?
Lawrence Welk.
Lawrence Welk got his start.
Yankton?
In Yankton, South Dakota.
No.
WNAX.
Oh.
WNAX. Yankton, South Dakota. So that was a big deal. And we'd go down there and we'd stay overnight. And we went and we saw the radio station and all the recording and all that. And then at night, we all slept in a big tent. And another trip I remember was the South Dakota State Fair. And it was held at Lake Preston, where my cousin Myrtle lived until she died last year. But we all went to the State Fair, and again we all slept in this big tent. But the big thing was that I remember about it was free watermelons. Everybody wanted watermelon. Watermelons were free. So that was a big deal.
How old were you then?
Oh, I was probably about 5 or 6 years old.
Oh, young.
Yeah.
Everything was 5 or 6, I think.
Yeah. When we moved to, after my mother died when I was 7, so shortly after that, Dad married again, and we moved to northern Minnesota. So we never got to Brookings much till I got older and could go there on my own, you know. But all my relatives, they all moved out to Los Angeles. And my grandparents, they moved out there too. But they couldn't stand it out there, and all the freeways and everything. So
she drags it over there.
So Grandpa, he said, I want to go back to South Dakota. So that's what they did, and Grandpa, he died there in South Dakota. He's buried right next to my mother there in the cemetery. Yeah. But I had wonderful grandmother and grandfather on my mother's side.
Okay.
But my dad's side, his dad died 2 years before I was born, and then his mother, she lived somewhere else in South Dakota, and I never saw her, only a couple times. That's about it.
How many times did she get married?
Huh?
How many times did she marry?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know too much about her, but it seemed to me that she'd married about 5 times.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Her husbands, I guess, weren't very healthy because they all died.